Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Team Synergy video podcast here. We have Deanna McCurdy, Dee McCurdy, as our guest today. And she is just coming off a big victory, winning her age group at the Xterra World Championship in Italy. That's a big deal. Welcome, Dee.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad I get to see you guys virtually. Since I never saw Josiah in Italy.
I think you saw Sullivan there. He said he ran into
We
you guys.
did. We ran into him in the street, but it was odd. It was like we must have just all been on just slightly different schedules because I think I saw everybody else from the United States there at some point. But yeah, you guys were just kind of in your own kind of
Yeah,
focus, probably.
sometimes we're coming and going at different times, but
And Dee and I,
congratulations.
we were hanging out at the end there too, so it was all good.
hmm Captured on camera too.
I
It
know.
was awesome. I was like the best pictures they had of me was me chatting with you afterwards because I don't know if I was just like, so excited to see you or excited that I was done,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
Well, I think as Cal can attest, since the World Championship has moved to Italy, it's a very European centric field, especially for the age group field. Well, the pro field as well. The top 10 is definitely filled in with Europeans. So to go over to Italy off U.S. soil and take the age group win, that's a pretty big feat. And it sounded like you had quite a bit of competition in your age group.
we did. I think I mean I'm in the 45 to 49 age group and of course I'm 49 and a half years old, so I was pretty much one of probably the oldest in my age group. Um and our age group was the largest women's age group out there, which is a test, and it's always been that way. I mean, when I was 40 to 44, it was just a dominant age group. So it's all those people, women, men and women, born in the early to mid 70s. I don't know what was in the drinking water at that time, but our parents all had it, and it just created kind of a um a fun, friendly era of competition amongst us.
Wow.
Awesome. Even
That's
had a
amazing.
mountain biker. Wow.
We did, yeah. There was a lady, Sabrina from France, who was an Olympian, and boy, when she came upon me in the bike, it was funny. It's like it was on, as we're going to talk about the race, the really fun flowy descent that had all the berms and the tabletops, and I mean, we're in a line, so you can only go so fast because you're in a line of people, and all of a sudden I hear this voice, and right behind me, French accent, asking to pass, and of course you're like, how can we pass? There's six of us,
Yeah.
and somehow she did. I mean, we took a berm high and she passed like six people on the inside and was gone. I mean, I was in awe. I'm like biking and I'm like, wow, I didn't know you could ride that fast. And I was like, she's the one that was in the Olympics, clearly, you know. But like as she told me after the race, because I right after we finished, I was like, you're amazing on the bike. And she says, yeah, but I can't swim and I definitely can't run. So,
Yeah.
and with this sport, it takes all three.
So how did it, obviously you lost a place or two there on the bike, but
Yeah.
so obviously you gained first place on the trail run, or when did you know you were in first?
I didn't. Remember I talked to you after the race. I
Oh
was like,
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
think I came in second also.
Yeah, that's true.
I truly did. I mean, honest, like this year, and we'll talk about it, has been a bit of an upside down year in our family and our life. And so it's training has been more mental health than actual focus for this race. So I mean, I was swimming like 2 days a week with my daughter, who we'll talk about, who did the race. I mean, that's why I was there. It was because of her. And yeah, we swam twice a week. So I came out of the water and I was probably in 40 something place overall in the women. I was just happy that when we had to do halfway through dive off the dock that I didn't lose my goggles. That was a celebration victory for me. I'm like, I didn't care how the rest of the swim went, but I
Yeah.
dove, and so I was happy. So yeah, so once you get to the bike, it's just I just pick people off because I know my swim is where my swim is, and but the numbers, our race numbers were, I mean, our age was so small on people's calves, plus they were covered in mud.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell who you were passing. You didn't know. You can't tell age. I mean, people are so fit out there. You can't tell, oh, that person's older or that person's younger. So I came in off the bike, and my husband, I believe, yelled like that I was like in third. And I was like, okay. And the whole run until the last mile, when I passed the lady Sabrina, I recognized her, but I didn't recognize the other woman in our age group that I passed on the run. So it was a pleasant surprise for me at the end. But But yeah, I mean, it was, it's three sports, and it's three sports
Yeah.
into one, like that creates your finish. So you could be crazy strong in one, and that's only worked so well for so long.
Wow. So quickly
So
stepping back, how did you get involved into endurance sport and Xterra? Like, have you been doing Xterra for a decade, or are you a newbie? What's the scoop?
no, I I mean, I ran Division 1 cross country in college for a small school in the Midwest, and so I always was active, and met my husband actually doing adventure racing, and so we did that type of stuff for a few years. Then we had kids, and kids change life.
Yeah.
So we mainly just adventure. I mean, just had fun weekends. Our youngest daughter, which we'll talk about, is has special needs. And so after she was born and was diagnosed with this condition called Angelman syndrome, it's a rare neurogenetic disorder. Um, that's when I really kind of got into back into competing and kind of taking on new challenges. And my first big challenge as like a fundraiser for a foundation that we support was to try to do a Ironman 70.3 race. I was like completely out of my element at that time, and did that, and did well at it. Like qualified for worlds at that race. I thought it was a one and done thing, so trained for the 70.3 worlds, but I don't know. I mean, and I know Cal, you do a ton of road triathlon stuff too. But
Yeah.
I was, my background was exploring in woods and playing in the woods, and I just that structure of the road training and mentality was tough. So in 2012, when I was training for World 70.3 Worlds, a friend of ours was like, "Hey, come do this Xterra race with us in Clemson." It was Xterra Clemson, South Carolina. And so I was like,
Hmm.
why not? It's a training weekend and it's something different. And like I said, my husband Dave and I used to always mountain bike and do adventure racing. So did it, had a blast.
Yeah.
I don't even remember how I finished. I just remember I was just happy. I was out there talking to people and I was like, this is great. And the people are friendly out here. And so we're like, oh, let's do the next one up. And we went to Knoxville, Tennessee to do one, and just fell in love with it. Like kind of checked off, okay, I got through 70.3 worlds, but I really just like had that. I love this, I love the people. I mean, the sport itself is great, but the
Hmm.
people that made it so special. So we moved out to Colorado because we lived in Georgia, and we moved out to Colorado in 2014, and got out here, and I was having it's just tough trying to meet people, especially in Colorado. People are very active, so they're not just sitting around their home and wanting to meet their neighbors because they're off climbing mountains on a weekend, skiing on weekends. And yeah, I was just struggling trying to meet people. I'd go to a pool and try to swim, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll meet people swimming. And because after all, we're in Colorado, people do that stuff. And everybody at the pool was like 60, 70 years old doing their little water aerobics. I'm like, this is not who I want to meet. So there was an Xterra race up in Fort Collins. And I'm like, you know what? We really like the people in Georgia that we met through Xterra. Let's sign up for this race for the whole, really the sole purpose. I want to meet friends. Not I want to race. I want to win a race. I want to meet friends. And did the race, met this great girl, Janine Snyder, who Josiah was coaching at the time. This was back like 2015. Janine was been just such a good, encouraging, happy person. I'm like, she's one of these Xterra people. And she's like, oh, well, you need to meet my coach, Josiah. And then we did Beaver Creek. And that's how it kind of has become our family's thing since, like I said, moving out to Colorado back in 2014.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Some people might not know, but I mean, you weren't just winning your age group, but you were placing in the pro field in a lot of those races. And you probably had several years where you qualified for an elite license, and you did even race with an elite license. Was it for 1 year or two?
I only did it for 1 year. Well, then 2020 hit, Also,
Yeah.
yeah. So I believe each year I raced, I qualified for it because most of the races I would race, I'd win. And then, but it was always fun to see then and compare, even though I didn't start with the pro racers, like, oh, hey, if I raced as a pro, I would have come in fourth, I would have come in sixth. And so it was kind of a fun little game that I'd play on the side, or I'd have a game out there like, how many pros can, I know they started 5 minutes ahead of me. How many can I pick off on by the time we get to the run? I mean, I didn't tell them that, but it's a small, fun community. And so yeah, it's like playing games out there with your friends out in the woods. So I did, when I turned 45, I decided to do my pro license because that's what most people do, right?
Wow.
At age 45. So I raced pro for a year, and then like so 2020 hit and the world changed. And then I was like, yeah, no, I don't. I've been there, I've done that, and I'm just getting older, and I'm learning as I get older that you have to train a little differently to for your own body's sake. So I was like,
Hmm.
let's and kids. I mean, we have kids who are, Josiah knows. I mean, when they're in middle school, high school, it's just crazy busy all the time. That I was like, I don't have that time to focus on training and racing and traveling so much for that when I have kids going off and doing all sorts of other kid activities.
Yeah. Well, it was you come back to Xterra and have a because I think you had mountain biked mostly last year,
I
and it
did.
was come back and pick up right where you left off. It looked like.
Yeah. Yeah, last year I decided just I've just gotten into really enjoying the bike, partially because as I've gotten older I find I can't do the high volume run mileage that I used to do. It just my body just starts tightening up, and maybe it's because I've been a runner for 40 something years that the body lets you know that, hey, you got to take more care of it. So last year I just decided I was just going to mountain bike race and did like mountain bike nationals and Breck Epic, which was so much fun. It was such a great week. Same type of people. Again, it's all for me. It's so much is about the people, and because this is our free time, this is our play time. So really loved that. And but it was my daughter. So New Year's Eve this past year, my daughter, who is well, she turned 18 a few months ago, and is a senior in high school. She comes to me and she was like, "Mom, next year, do you know that the World Championships is back in Italy again for Xterra?" Because she was, of course, we were following the Mid-Oz and all their pictures and all the pizza photos and the mountain photos. And, and Haley's like, "Mom, I'm 18 and that's the minimum age for, qualifying and racing in world." She's like, "I want to do this as my senior year, like my big goal. And I want to do this as my senior trip." And I tried to explain to her, I was like, we could go on a senior trip that doesn't involve a race. Like our
Yeah.
family, usually every trip, even going to Disney World, we do a race, So I was like, but there are families who actually go on vacation without racing. We could do something like that. And she's like, "No, I think I want to do this." I was like, "Oh, I guess you need a training partner." Which
Wow.
means I guess mom has to get back in the pool. Mom hasn't missed the pool in a year. So we did. So that's how I, ended up deciding to do it this year. And mainly for the memories with her. I mean, it's
Yeah.
been such a great knowing that next year, I mean, she's off to college, she's sprouting her wings, she's going to be
Yeah.
doing who knows what. And I'm like, if she wants to actually hang out with her mom as a teenager and is willing to listen to her mom when her mom tells her we're going to go do this hill climb today or whatever, I'm like, I have to embrace that. So that's what pulled me back this year. And it's been interesting because I wouldn't say my goals have been different this year, but my focus has been different. My focus is to help build her up and to get her to cross that finish line that she had this big dream of, where I feel like I've been there and I've done that. And so encouraging and walking with her through this process has been so rewarding for me, that getting to race myself and and doing as well as I did was, I would say, it was a surprise. But it just, I didn't put that stress on myself leading up to the race because I was stressed for her. But for me it was just race with joy, that hey, we're out here today.
Yeah, it's amazing how our kids can be our spark that keeps us, in the game, but a different perspective, just like you said. And it's powerful. It's
Yeah,
amazing. And look at the outcome that you had and the outcome of your daughter. Like
yeah.
it's quite a story. Like it's just very impressive to see you two out there racing. And then of course your husband, who is the supporter extraordinaire, like, how did he handle that experience? Like with both of you racing, I can't imagine the responsibilities and even the anxiety and stress that he went through.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just say he did have a couple of beers like the night before and the night after. I was like, "Honey, you have earned this way more than us." Yeah, he's been, I mean, he's been so great. I couldn't have done any of this over the past how many years without him, because he'll jump in and do races and he'll train a little for him. Like we did Xterra ATX down in Austin, Texas, this past April, and mainly did it because he could tie it in with a work trip. And I was like, "Hey, if you can get a work trip and we can get somebody to take care of the kids, let's do it. I mean, so it was like the race was the excuse to have that little weekend away. And he trained with me a little in the spring. And so he's done these and he does, he does decently well, but it's not, he's so busy with work. It's never been a big
Yeah.
focus and priority for him. But yeah, this trip, we couldn't have done this trip without him, and even like just the race itself, if I would see him on the course, I'm like, how's Haley doing? Is she okay? Did she make it through the swim? Like, I'm literally yelling that as I'm biking by. And he's like, she's good. I'm like, okay, I'm good then. Like I didn't care how I was doing and where I was placement wise. I'm like, how's Haley? Because the mom and you. And then I didn't see him. I don't know if it was like after the first lap with the bike, I didn't see him. So then I'm starting that second lap, like, oh my gosh, I didn't see him. What's happening? Is Haley okay? Did he have to go to her? Is she in medical tech? And the mom in me just like brain kicks into overdrive. I'm like, just focus on your thing right here.
Yeah.
Once you're done, then you can deal with them. And then if you're there for them. But yeah, he carried a big weight for the team. Not only, and this is a side story, not only was he dealing with Haley and I. Remember I said I have another daughter with special needs who came with us on the trip. And she's 15. And she has had this crazy series of medical issues starting mid-July. She got a virus when she was at a therapy camp, and she got dehydrated. We ended up in the hospital a few days later. Didn't know because she's nonverbal everything that like she was thinking and feeling, and the virus had triggered vertigo. But we didn't know she had vertigo for like 4 or 5 weeks. We just knew that she refused to walk. She just wanted to lay on the ground. And like, if you tried to move her, she would break into a cold sweat and just be like terrified. But
Wow.
it took 4 or 5 weeks and finally going to see so many doctors at our children's hospital for them to go, oh, we think she has vertigo. And then the vertigo subsided, but she got tinnitus out of the whole thing. So it was just this crazy series that had nothing to do with her condition. It was just, the vertigo was triggered because she probably had the virus at camp and she went on a zip line and it loosened those little crystals in her ear. And yeah, I mean, so it was so strange. So here we had this trip planned, never thinking we'd have a kid who was not going to be well for it. And yeah, so she came with us on the trip. She was great when she was sitting in a car. She was great when she was laying around her bed, but anywhere else, it was so challenging because she didn't want to walk, and she has this little wheelchair stroller and she refuses to sit in a chair. Again, we don't know if it's because that whole vertigo thing, she needed to be close to the ground. So my poor husband was like, don't worry, I'm taking care of her. You guys have to focus on, your pre-race stuff and getting all this taken care of and just getting the job done, of being out there. So yeah, he lost probably quite a bit of hair over the past few weeks because
Yeah.
of this, and because it's been a lot of work, but he's been great. In fact, my daughter's still not in school. School's been going on for 6 weeks and she's gone 2 days. So we're still kind of in the trenches of all of that and trying to figure it out. But again, like he all day today, I had a dentist appointment. I got to go on a bike ride with a friend of mine that I haven't seen all summer. My old racing partner from Breck Epic. And he was doing his work, but taking care of her and everything. So I could kind of have my day. So then I'd kind of be in one piece to talk to you guys. so,
Wow.
so yeah, he's a good guy.
Hey,
I'll keep him around for a little while longer.
Yeah.
He hasn't kicked me out yet because he's had to deal with me over all these years too.
well, I think that dynamic with, I mean, obviously the obstacles that you've overcome just with the family, that just to get you to that race is amazing. But I also think it's just an interesting kind of almost like a role reversal where you were influential in getting Haley into racing. And now, since she's racing, she's probably part of what's keeping you going and keeping you motivated to race, to show, to obviously you're kind of guiding the way, but she's like, you're probably still in it because she's so motivated to be in it. So I think that's kind of cool. And I feel the same way
I
with
know.
me and my kids. I'm like, I don't think I would still be doing this, but since my kids are, involved, and I have, kind of has rekindled a similar thing with me as well. So that's kind of cool, full circle sometimes.
And as they get stronger and faster, I mean, it's amazing how quickly they springboard up to another level, and you're like, oh, I got to keep training just so I can keep up with her now. Like, I don't want her to be waiting at the top of the hill for me. I got to keep getting myself out there or she'll be rolling her eyes like, oh, I'm going out with mom today. I got to wait around for her to come, up the hill. The other side of things though is like she rode I got a new bike last year and I love the bike. Guess who is riding that bike now? She
Yeah.
is. Half my, my biking clothes, my gear keeps disappearing out of my closet and it doesn't come back. And I'm like, what? I mean, granted, her bedroom, it's like a tornado goes off in there and you never know the bottomless abyss of what is in actually that room. But I'm like, I'm embracing okay, I can't find my bike shorts anymore, because she's taking them. And that's kind of cool that, she actually wants to wear my stuff and takes it on her own and is kind of got into this. So yeah, I've loved being able to share it with her. And I think it's, like for us, it's, and same thing for you, Josiah, and probably you, Cal, like it's become such a part of our life. It is a lifestyle. And that I hope not only when she goes off to college, but in years down the road, that it's just part of her lifestyle, to stay busy, to stay active, to stay wanting to keep setting big goals for herself and keep wanting to explore and grow and climb mountains herself.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I traveled solo to Italy, so that was my first trip to Europe. And I have to thank you two for being my family because when you're at a race by yourself and you sort of are feeling a little isolated, just having the team synergy and Josiah and Sully and really Dee yourself, like we talked for half an hour after the race and just having that connection and basically the team synergy was just a gift for me. Um, what about you, Dee? What do you think about the team synergy or is there something that you want to say about the team? I think we've been so blessed to have you a part of our team as we develop here, and maybe even tell us what your favorite synergy product is. I
Yeah.
mean, tell us a little bit about your attachment to synergy.
Okay. Well, first, Synergy, I was introduced to Synergy years ago. I mean, partially through Josiah because the mid-all coaching kits race kits were always, you know, uh, created by Synergy. But I met Stefan Larson, the founder of Synergy, through the mid-alls, through exterior racing, and he's just a wonderful, good person, a caring person, a giving person, and like I said, it's for me, it's always all been about the people. Products, yes, products are great, but the people. And he
Yeah,
just really invested in us, was always curious what was going on with my family, how he could help support our cause. And I was like, this, I can get behind something that I believe in, and I believe in the people behind the product. Aside from the fact that they're great products, whether it's the tri kits. I mean, look at that Team Synergy kit. It is so awesome. It's the colors are vibrant, the fit, there's no chafing, it's breathable. So yeah, I love the kits themselves, but again, I like the people in the company too.
yeah,
So of course the kits are one of my favorite things about, about Synergy products. But I really do, especially live out in Colorado, and especially coming from a running background, a running and biking background, which means swimming's always going to be a challenge for
yeah,
me. I'm a sinker, not a floater. So having a wetsuit that I can wear and feel comfortable in and keeps me buoyant on top of the water and keeps me warm because I'm not the biggest person either. So I get cold quite easily. Is important to me. And I've tried other brands, and I've tried brands that make me feel like I'm suffocating because they're so tight around my neck, or that you're in this like straight jacket. You're like, oh my gosh, how can I breathe? Or where I get shoulder pain because of the way they were designed in the arms. And I've never had one issue with a Synergy wetsuit. And so, in
nice.
fact, my daughter has my one that I've had she has an endorphin now that used to be mine that she wore all season. And I've been wearing the hybrid EFX3, and it feels like second skin on,
Yeah,
I don't notice that it's even on in the water. And I think that says a lot. It's not like, oh, okay, it's pulling through my shoulder, or, oh, it feels so hard to get on. It just feels very comfortable in. And it keeps me, like I said, keeps me buoyant on the water, and has made me a better swimmer considering my training for swimming
right.
hasn't been as strong, so and because most of the time, most of the year, I swim with a wetsuit on out in open water. I mean, when I'm open water, because we're in the mountains of Colorado. I'm sure there are a lot of, I call them like the real swimmers. I see them out there at our gravel pond that we swim at. And like, I mean, they're wearing Speedos from like the end of May. And I'm like, good for them. Great that they love cold water. They don't need that, but for me, it's that extra layer of insulation and protection, and it makes me enjoy swimming a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
think three of us can relate to that. As our very strongest suit of the three. But I think that's where people need to realize that the true benefit of the wetsuit is when you can take somebody without a swim background and bridge them 2 minutes closer to that lead group. I
Yeah.
mean, then that makes a big difference, right? And that's the performance advantage of having a really good wetsuit.
Hmm.
So it
Yeah, I
sounds
agree.
like Haley and some more synergy gear.
I know. Oh, she's like, Mom, do you have an extra kit again? Do you have an extra kit that says McCurdy on it? 'Cause she loved it. And I was like, oh, sweetie, like she didn't officially qualify until she was supposed to do Xterra Lori in June. And so we had trained and everything. 2 days before the race, they had to cancel the race because we had so much rain out here this spring, and the trail, you can't ride on the trails out in Colorado when they've been rain or muddy because it destroys the trail. So they had to cancel the race. And so suddenly we had to pivot because we're like, here she's devoted herself to this training, and how are we gonna make this happen? So we tied it in with this neat, fun, Griswold family camping road trip. From here, we went through Ogden, Utah, because I wanted to hop on the trails there because I loved Xterra when it was there, and wish it would go back there because that's
Yeah.
my favorite race course. So we got to do a little of that. Ended up in Oregon and raced in Xterra Portland, that a former Xterra pro and friend of ours, Annie Usher, put on, and we had a blast. It was such a great race. It's such a fun course. So we did that, and then kind of looped around through Idaho, Montana, did some college visits on the way home. So she didn't qualify until beginning of August. So we're like, okay. I mean, we bought the plane tickets and everything because she's like, Mom, you've qualified already. We're going. She's like,
Yeah.
we're going whether I get to go or not. We're going on this trip to Italy. And I'm like, but the only reason I'm doing this is because you're doing this. I don't want to race if you don't get to race. So it was great that she was able to qualify in Portland. But then it was too short of a time period to get the turnaround to, oh, I'm going to order another kit, because she, like I said, she loves that. She's like, it's so cool. And like I said, she uses, we have 2 sets of Synergy paddles and the swim skin shorts, because I love those shorts. They help me in the pool too.
Yeah.
A lot. I know some of the swimmers in Master Swim kind of give you a look like, oh, you're wearing those. And I'm like, you know what? First off, I'm in my late 40s. I don't care anymore. I'm not worried about what they're thinking. I used to, but now I'm like, whatever. If it makes me happy in the water and it gives me better form and technique, and I'm not getting an impingement in my shoulders because of it, then I'm gonna wear them. So
Yeah.
yeah, so she's been borrowing, like I said, not only borrowing, or we have double of quite a few things now.
Yeah.
That's
And those pool shorts, it allows you to swim a little easier. Let's say if
Mhm.
you're fatigued from your running and your biking and stuff, you don't have to be drilling it to keep up with the pure swimmers. That's
Right,
what I
because the
find.
pure swimmers did not do a 3-hour ride with intervals the day
Totally.
before. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point.
awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dee. It was great to be on, hear a little bit more of your story, and have our audience just hear a little bit more about what your background is. And congrats to you and
Yeah.
Haley, Aiden.
Thanks.
Yeah,
And
hopefully we'll
Dave.
be around.
And Dave, yeah, he actually gets, so Haley came in, I won my age group. I was like 7th or 8th overall in the race, which was great, like slip of the day. And Haley came in 3rd in her age group. So, but Dave's the one who actually gets our trophies. I know. I was like, he's the one who actually earned them. So
Perfect.
Wow.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I'm sure we'll see you at the next one.
definitely keep in touch, guys. I know Cal and I've already talked about some kind of ideas for my big year. My aging up year turns next year, where I'm the young chick in the
All right.
age group.
Yeah.
So I want to come up with some ideas, and here we are bouncing some ideas off. And I know, Josiah, you have a couple of things planned this winter that I want to pick your brain about too. So some fun, like winter adventure goals and challenges.
Good to have goals.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah. Thanks, Dee. I appreciate it. And congratulations to your entire family. What a great showing in Italy. That was phenomenal.
Well, thank you guys. And you too, both of you and Sully. And I mean, it's been so much fun watching Sully and watching, oh, just just all the young kids. I mean, like our whole team. So you asked about synergy. What was so cool is I remember going to Oak Mountain and suddenly we all had the same kid on, and you're seeing Keller and you're seeing, Susie, and you're like, you just feel that's what I love about this idea of this team. And I can't wait to watch it and hopefully help it grow, because there is this camaraderie and there is that when you're out there and you're struggling and you kind of glance down at your kid, you're like, oh yeah, I'm out here for me, but I'm out here for my team, and my team's out here racing too. And it just kind of gives you that little extra energy and that boost. Like, I want to get to the finish line because we want to celebrate together.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
that's what it's all about. And
Yeah.
hopefully we grow even more next year.